Hello and welcome to your Mental Health Board today. My name is John Reese and I'm the host for this series. Today our guest is Mr. Bob Chapman from the Gateway Foundation in Aurora. Bob, it's really good to have you with us today.
John, thanks for inviting me.
Good. Bob, I usually like to start off the show with having the guest introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their journey in terms of how they got into their current position.
Sure. Well, so my name's Bob Chapman. I began my career in addictions about 13 years ago with Wabansi. I obtained my CADC, Certified Alcohol and Drug Counselor. Pursued then my master's in social work at Aurora University, and currently I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I supervise or clinical supervisor for the outpatient program at Gateway in Aurora.
Gateway in Aurora?
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been there?
Coming up on 7 years there now.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks.
Gateway in Aurora, probably some of our listeners are not familiar with Gateway and the Gateway Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about the foundation in general and Gateway Aurora particularly?
Sure. Kind of interesting that we're here today because it is our 50th anniversary. Gateway started as a addictions treatment facility in our program in Chicago. In Aurora, we have a full-service program treatment facility. We offer all levels of care from residential to a day program, which is an outpatient program, intensive outpatient, and then basic outpatient, as well as an adolescent program.
Very good. So pretty broad range of services.
Right. Try to meet all clients and meet their needs where they need to be.
Sure. You're coordinator of the outpatient services at the Aurora facility.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that program and about the staff that you have at the program.
Okay. Well, to start with the staff, we all of our counselors are master's level counselors. We have evolved significantly over the last few years. We now currently offer intensive outpatient 3 different times a day. We have an 8:30 in the morning group that runs till 11:30, 3 hours. Then we have a noon group that runs till 3, and then we have a couple of 5:30 groups that run till 8:30, trying to best be available to our clients' schedules. The unique part about, I think, our programming is our clients will choose a group time, and they will then create a recovery cohort where they'll be in the same group with the same clients every day, and the same clinician will be facilitating the group every day. We have a level 1 aftercare program that people transition to or initiate into if they're trying to decide whether what kind of role substances played in their life, and we offer that 8 different times a week. It's an hour-and-a-half group. It runs from 5:30 to 7:30 5:30 to 7 Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday we have an 8:30 in the morning group, and we also have a noon group. And then our day program, which is for people who need more structure throughout the day, might have better support at home in the evening, runs 5 days a week. It's a 6-hour program, runs from 8:30 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon, and we provide lunch for those clients.
I see. You mentioned level 1 programming. Are those people that will come in once or twice a week?
Yeah, generally it's a twice a week program. It's for people, like I said, transitioning from a higher level of care who need less support, who have already put some components in place to help promote success in their early recovery, or people who are really starting to investigate and they might have time constraints or really might not meet criteria for that higher level of care. So once again, just kind of investigating what kind of role substance is playing in their lives and what steps they might need to take to reduce that.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the intensive outpatient, which how many times a week does that meet?
So that would meet 4 times a week.
4 times a week.
For 3 hours. Generally, we focus on Monday through Thursday, with Friday being a makeup day. Evenings is only Monday through Thursday night, but our day program and our morning program run 5 days a week.
So you have the kind of wide width of programming that can meet very much a particular individual's need.
Yes.
And when a client comes into your program, are they assigned a particular counselor, or do your counselors work kind of with everybody in general?
No, our counselors, like I was saying earlier, our counselors have time slots. So the client will pick the group that best meets their needs as far as time constraints or other obligations, and then that counselor then will absorb the new client onto their caseload.
I see. I think kind of in terms of talking about addiction, years ago, I think people kind of talked about addiction and mental health issues as being very separate and never the same. Mm-hmm. But today they're kind of more the same. If someone is having a mental health problem and an addiction problem, or the other way around, are they eligible to be in your programming?
Yes, we treat obviously mental health as a primary diagnosis, as we do substance use disorder. We are primarily substance, but we know that mental health is a huge component of recovery and helping to manage that. So in our day program, for instance, all our clients have access to psychiatric support and medications initially. In our intensive outpatient, in all our programming, we focus on a co-occurring curriculum that thus helps to identify and then promote coping strategies to help manage any type of stressors, help with emotional regulation.
That's an important element of your program that I think is, again, I've looked at kind of the addictions field across the board that is sometimes overlooked in other programs. It's a good thing to have.
Yeah, part of our re-imaging or rethinking of treatment required us to incorporate and have a focused co-occurring residential program. It's a co-ed, co-occurring focused program.
So that's why it's important, as you introduced yourself, you have both the certified addiction, so you have the specialty area in that, but you also have the licensed clinical social worker.
Right.
So if people are having problems in addition to or concurrent with the addiction, they can get the services, and all your staff have those same kind of credentials?
If they don't have them already, they're working towards them. I have, on our team, we have masters in social work, we have licensed social workers, we have licensed clinical social workers as well as licensed professional clinical counselors. So,
Bob, I think we'll take a short break on that note. But when we come back, you mentioned medication, and I'd like to ask you a few more questions about the role of medication in treatment.
Recovery benefits everyone.
I started my own company.
I got my dad back.
My friends believe in me. Daddy's home.
Substance use and mental disorders can be treated. It all starts on day one. Join the Voices for Recovery.
Welcome back. Today's guest is Mr. Bob Chapman from the Gateway Aurora Foundation, where Bob is the clinical director of the outpatient treatment services. Bob, before we went off on break, we had raised the issue of medicated assisted treatment. Could you tell our audience a little bit more about that and
Sure.
how that works within your program?
So we've found medicated assisted treatment can really help to initiate and stabilize clients early in their recovery. We utilize a couple of different medications. For opiates, we utilize Suboxone and buprenorphine. Well, it is buprenorphine, but Bunavel would be the other, and then Vivitrol. For alcohol, we use substances like, or medications like Campro and or Vivitrol as well, naltrexone.
Okay. And these are medications that are designed to help stabilize the person when they're in their early stages of their recovery?
Yeah, ideally they help to minimize or reduce cravings, help people manage those high-risk situations where they might feel the only thing that's going to help them get through would be to use a substance again. For instance, Vivitrol is a derivative of naltrexone, so it helps to it blocks all the receptors, all the opiate receptors, so a person can't use an opiate and get the euphoric effect. Similar with the way it interacts with alcohol, kind of blocking the release of those neurotransmitters that people want to feel that euphoric effect. With Suboxone, works a little differently. It has a little bit of an opiate to it, but also a blocker as well. So, and this is more of a harm reduction, trying to both stabilize early on and reduce craving, reduce the need for that opiate.
So the use of medication really is reflective that the addictions world has more and more learned what really a physical disease addiction is.
Oh, absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely. We can watch it work in the mind pretty effectively.
Absolutely. So within your program so far, we've talked about the services that you have for adult clients. It's my understanding that your program also has services for adolescents?
Correct. So we do have an after-school adolescent program. It runs Monday through Thursday, 4:30 to 7:30. So we try to capture people after their kids when they're done with school. Definitely promote parental participation. It's more experiential. We find that our adolescents who are in school all day don't really lend themselves or are really interested in doing more paperwork or education type stuff. So we try to involve them in art therapy or some play therapy, all with and a lot of mindfulness, with the idea that they're kind of choosing how they're learning, and we introduce a lot of different styles.
Your staff for your adolescent program, is that unique and different than your staff for your adult program?
It is not. We have a primary counselor. She just recently started with me. I was able to bring her over from another program at Gateway, so we were excited to get her. Really, it's coming through the summer, trying to prepare kids for reintegration into those high-risk situations. Our adolescents have access to any substance at any time while they're in school. We know this, and so we try to best prepare them to be able to manage the time they're at school and not return to substance use.
Some of the needs that adolescents have are really unique as compared to adults. So your adolescents go to their schooling within their normal school, so they've not left their home environment, so to speak.
Right.
And then they come in for that programming.
Yes.
Excellent. And you also mentioned parental involvement. I would assume that's absolutely critical in working with adolescents.
It is. It's challenging to get families involved. Our clients oftentimes have taken up a lot of time, and a lot of our families have other components that they have to manage as well. So on Wednesday nights, we focus on a family program. We try to bring in different resources from the community, whether it would be, we want them to know that they're not alone, family members aren't alone. So we bring in peer support like Al-Anon or Nar-Anon, Families Anonymous. We give family members an opportunity to kind of identify themselves in the relationship with their child and their substance, or their loved one and their substance, really. And the family programming is open to all of our clients, and it's been really a powerful, effective group over the last few years.
That's great. So again, at the Aurora Gateway, you have the outpatient for adults, the outpatient for adolescents, and it's my understanding that there's also residential services.
Yeah, we have recently kind of reimagined a curriculum that is co-occurring focused. It's a co-ed, co-occurring program. They can work with up to 16 people at a time. And we started that about a little over a year ago. And then additionally, we built another men's residential component to our facility. So we have two separate units, one up to 18 men and the other up to 10 men. Occasionally, because of the need, as we were talking about co-occurring earlier, and the mental health needs, we've had to take our 10-bed unit and transition that to accommodate a co-ed population struggling with more significant mental health needs.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like that's part of the advantage of being part of a large system, that when a person comes in, whether they need the kind of traditional outpatient, that intensive or daycare type program you were talking, or residential, it's all available kind of in one spot.
Yeah, and we have a lot of flexibility. We try to help people at the lowest level of care that makes sense to help them be successful. Oftentimes, what their idea of a successful level of care can conflict with what we're recommending, but we'll give them opportunities to be successful, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Are there adolescent residential services at the Aurora facility?
We don't have adolescent residential at Aurora. We do have a adolescent male program up in Lake Villa, Illinois, and then we have an adolescent female program or women's program down in Carbondale, Illinois.
So those would be available to a client at Gateway should they need it?
We would definitely refer
Sure.
out if they continue to struggle or their use increases.
Okay. So far, I've kind of had you describing the services that are currently at Gateway. I think it's important to look forward and see if kind of what future planning or thinking might be if you could have any kind of new type of programming or services that you would want. What would you like to have?
Well, we're currently working on developing a co-occurring focused outpatient program that would be trauma-informed, include components of DBT, CBT, this idea that we know that people continue to struggle once they find themselves in early recovery.
Great.
with some mental health challenges.
Okay, I think, Bob, what we'll do is we'll take another short break, and when we come back, I'll ask you a little bit more about that program and how people might contact you.
Sure.
Recovery benefits everyone.
I started my own company.
I got my dad back.
My friends believe in me. Daddy's home.
Substance use and mental disorders can be treated. It all starts on day one. Join the Voices for Recovery.
Welcome back. Again, our guest this afternoon is Bob Chapman, coordinator of the outpatient program at Gateway Aurora. Bob, before we left for break, we were talking about your kind of wish list that you'd like to have a co-occurring program in the outpatient program for folks. co-occurring is people that have both the substance abuse and mental health issues. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we look at the primary diagnosis, substance use disorder, and some other form of mental health diagnosis.
That would go along with
So
it.
they run parallel. So we know that we need to treat both for a lot of clients to be successful. Initiating abstinence doesn't take care of the underlying mental health challenges that people face in early recovery.
We talked earlier about kind of the breadth of services that you have at Gateway in terms of the outpatient going through residential or the other way around as a person might need. But the kind of primary treatment or starting treatment is really only the beginning stage of recovery. Are there things that you do at Gateway to help people sustain their recovery after they're leaving treatment?
Absolutely, and really kind of insightful because I know when clients are with us, they feel like they're with us forever, but really we only have a real short role in their world. 6 to 8 weeks goes by very quickly, and so we really promote and look at our alumni. We're a national organization, so when people complete programming with us, they become part of this larger community in lifelong recovery. So we do a lot of monthly events at Aurora to promote and bring people back to participate in safe kind of structured events. We go to ball games, we do outings, picnics, barbecues. So and it's all about really celebrating how their lives have changed as they've initiated their recovery process.
So really part of treatment is learning how to live chemical free out in the, shall we say, real world?
Absolutely. Most of what we really focus on is how is a person participating in their life currently, and how potentially could they participate differently in their lives, and what would that look like, and how do we get them there?
In terms of treatment, how is the role of the kind of self-help groups, the traditional kind of AAs, Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous? Do you incorporate that kind of treatment? We
do look at peer support groups. We incorporate them, some of their values and change, approach to change, very effective. We know that people have to add layers of support or once they initiate abstinence. And to do that, peer support is a great, comfortable place for people to start their recovery. When we look at peer support, really, we don't target any one group, but at the same time, the 12-step programs, they're very supportive of our program, and we bring bridge groups in, and they kind of share their message. They bring hope to families as well. So. Sure.
Bob, one of the difficulties is, especially with substance abuse, is that word denial. And a lot of people find it very difficult to recognize they have a problem. And even if they do, they're sometimes find it difficult to seek the kind of help that they need. If somebody was out in our audience today and they were having a problem, how might they contact Gateway, and can you kind of walk us through that process of what would happen after they contacted you?
Sure. So we have a call center that fields all the calls. Somebody would call, either somebody who's seeking support or help, or a family member, and a counselor there would answer the phone and do a little bit of screening, just kind of gather some information, logistics, kind of a little bit background on what the substance use looks like, and then try to, from that point, would look to transfer that call to the facility that best would meet the client's needs. That facility then would do a full screening process, about 10 minutes or so, and now we're just trying to gather a little more information, And from that point, we would try to coordinate an admission appointment as soon as possible. We know the best time to capture a person is when they ask for help, and so we try to be available to provide an admission 7 days a week at Aurora, with this idea that when a person says, "I'm ready," we want to be available to bring them right in, because we know those moments aren't, sometimes are very few and far between, with the powerful nature of denial.
When the window's open, you have to move, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we try to be available to them.
So it's really a 24/7 hotline.
Yeah.
Do you have that number for our viewers?
Sure. 877-505-HOPE. I don't know the numbers.
Okay.
I think we can put them up on the screen.
We'll put
after
those
we're
up
done.
on the screen, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So
And
that's 877-505-HOPE.
okay, very fine. Now, when somebody has a substance use problem, again, they're often in denial and are reluctant to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Any advice for the loved ones out there that maybe have somebody that's beginning to use substances or show some difficulties with alcohol?
Sure. One of the consistencies in substance use is the client will tend to isolate, and families will follow and tend to isolate. They'll start participating as much as they used to. They won't be able to follow through on commitments because they're trying to, ensure that their loved one is safe. So know that you're not alone out there, that there are lots of good, healthy support groups where you can kind of talk and share and hear how other people have managed to both support and advocate for their clients. Oftentimes, the behavior that comes along with substance use is so large, it gets hard to remember who that person we love is behind the disease, or through the disease. So, like I mentioned before, Al-Anon, Nar-Anon Families Anonymous, great programs. Additionally, approaching that person, from a place of love and concern and fear and being genuine. We know that consequence-driven interventions are sometimes effective, but most often rejected if the person's feeling attacked, or they'll get defensive. So we want to make this a joint version, or an endeavor. What could we do to move back to or move forward or get through this?
Yeah, and it's important then too, as you were talking earlier about your family services, so that once somebody does come into treatment, the family doesn't feel abandoned or pushed out of the picture either, because they're very much a part of it, and recovery is going to happen there.
Yeah, in all our programs, family counseling, family therapy is available. We promote it in residential. It's required part of the programming. If not family recovery support, we know that everybody who comes in, their family might not be that that person to help them move into that next layer of recovery. So we open it up to friends and relatives.
Excellent, excellent. Earlier you'd mentioned the opiate epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
That's a critical issue in today's world, and I hope if anyone out in our viewing audience is experiencing any kind of issues with it, that they feel comfortable contacting you at the Gateway Foundation. Would you want to give us those numbers again?
The phone numbers?
The phone number,
yeah,
please.
877-505-HOPE. 877-505-HOPE.
Okay, thanks. Bob, I really want to thank you for being here today and sharing with us about Gateway.